This is Michele Bell with ASI Media, and I'm here with CJ Schmidt, the 2024 Counselor Person of the Year. CJ, congratulations.
Oh, thank you. It's awesome. What a nice award to receive, and appreciate the nomination. And it's just a true honor. So thank you.
Well, it's extremely well deserved as somebody who has watched your very interesting career over the many years that I've known you. So I, of course, wrote your profile, your award profile, and I was interested to learn. So you're going to be 42 in November. You've been
Correct.
The only job you've had has been with HIT from when you were a little kid and you would stuff envelopes at the company. And you told me that the Friday you graduated college, that Monday you started with HIT.
That's a valid statement. Yeah. So I was doing some kind of side work in college my senior year, quoting and helping out with sales and whatnot. But yeah, pretty much started officially 2 days after I graduated. So uh, went and traveled with a guy named Craig Donnelly that ran the Midwest for us. And that was an interesting experience at 21 years or 22 years old at that time, right? So
I'm sure. Well, plus, and
yeah,
you would travel with your dad, who of course was an industry legend, Bill Schmidt Sr., to Asia, which I know was pivotal for you because you told me that that's really when you kind of knew that you wanted to be in the industry.
yep. So I'm a avid sports fan, and wanted to actually go to school to become a sports agent. And in between junior and senior year of college, my dad gave me the opportunity to travel with him to Hong Kong and China. And um, as you know, when you fly into Hong Kong, the site itself is pretty intriguing, and in the business world, I don't think it gets much better than that. So I had a good 2 weeks, and I got a master's in 2 weeks with my dad over there and my brother. So it was pretty neat. And at the end of it, I said, "Hey, Dad, if you want me to come on board, I'd love to be a part of it." So that's kind of how that all happened.
How old were you for that?
So in between 21.
21.
Yeah.
I don't know if you'd agree with me, but it seems to me that Hong Kong is one of those cities, CJ, because when I would land, it would be at about 5 in the morning from the East Coast, and you land, and there's this electricity that Hong
Yes.
Kong has. You know what I mean? You just feel it.
You're driving over the bridge and you just see
Yep.
all the containers in the bay there, and it's just
And the sun
I
coming
fell
up.
in love.
Yeah, the sun coming up. I love that.
I still get honestly goosebumps about that. So it's pretty cool. We only go once or twice a year now. We used to go 4 or 5 times, but yeah, it's you still get the same feel.
So
Yeah,
it's funny you said about being a sports agent because when I was writing your profile, I was reminded, you and I have known each other for a long time, kind of travel in a Venn diagram of circles of friends, but we would
sure.
always see each other at the same parties. And, I always thought of you as, and I mean this as a compliment, by the way, kind of like, you were like the Gronk of the industry. And you know how much I love Gronk.
Me too. Yeah, no, I always say play hard, work harder, right?
I understand. I think you've check and check. I think you've got both of those things. What struck me, though, about where you are now and why this award is so timely, you have really been at the helm of the company for the past 8 years. In that time, I did the numbers, you have grown the company 100%. In effect, you have grown the company about 300 plus $1 million from when you took the company over, and you have taken some very interesting big swings, I think. And you, by your own admission, have had some misses too. So I wanted to just talk briefly about, when I think of very interesting moves that you've made that people have said, huh, that is a ballsy thing for CJ to do. I think of jumping into print on demand. I think about apparel. Um, and then kind of, pivoting to the strategic deal with Storm Tech, Touchstone, and taking the business, and because you saw the value of that. So can you talk about some of those things maybe in an overarching way? Because all of those things could have gone sideways in a number of ways.
Sure, sure. So I guess I'll start with the apparel side of things. That was the first, I think, major risk we took, and it wasn't a giant risk because if it failed, you could use the same machines to print bags realistically, right? So we weren't really taking an inventory play. It was an on-demand type deal. Actually happened with Mark Held and I at the time. We still are good friends. We're talking at a bar, and we had a large import order, and the only aspect of it we didn't get was the apparel side of things. And the distributor gave us a nice opportunity and said, "Hey, we have 220,000 shirts. Would you like to just do the whole order for us?" So it's called Mark, called a screen printer. We got that worked out, and then I said to myself, "Why can't we just do this more and more and more?" And we saw the one PO solution as a big thing. So you only have one PO, one invoice, less friction, et cetera. And that's kind of how that evolved. And it's evolved into a pretty nice side of our business at this point.
And when you look at things like Profil, when you and I spoke about that, as far as cutting down on the steps for distributors, right?
Right.
Cutting down on the distance from A to point B. How has that worked for some of your distributor clients?
It's taken a while, and it takes a while for folks to buy into the equation. It's not easy when distributors have invested so much money into various software platforms and time and effort and whatnot, but we feel like we have a pretty good solution. We feel like we have a tie-in to most e-company stores or company store options out there. And it really also helps on the sustainability side of things. We're printing and moving things to the shelf. That's not to say we don't accept other people's goods and whatnot. That's still part of the equation and ship out on the distributor's behalf. But the goal is to produce as much in-house as we possibly can, which is a real nice tie-in. There's no freight from, let's say, HIT in Florida to Cincinnati, or a supplier in California to Cincinnati, or various distributors have 3PLs all over the country, right? So that's a big deal, and you can do things in a timely, on-demand fashion.
So, you have the legacy, the responsibility of not only having one of the most famous last names in the industry, but you took over the company that your grandfather, your dad, and here you are. It seems to me that some of these initiatives that you spearheaded, you really had to go all in and give it time. A lot of people don't have the patience or time. They get nervous when things don't work quickly. How did you know to kind of just sit and say, okay, this is going to take a while. Maybe it's going to take a little longer than I thought, but there's something there. How do
You
you
should
know
ask
that? That's just
you should
instinct?
you should ask my wife about my patience level. Um, no, but business wise, I don't know. Instinct. It's just I felt it's going to work, and our team felt it was going to work, and some of this stuff does take time. Um, Profil took 5 years to really get its groove going. That's a long time.
Yeah.
And we slowly built it up, and it was just persistence, and we wanted to see it work. There was no magic wand that we put on the building or on the platform, but over time it evolved, and we added the right pieces to the puzzle too. We might not have had the right IT staff or platform or warehouse management software. We've continued to add different pieces of the puzzle to make it work. Still not perfect today, but it's in a pretty good spot, and it's a heavy emphasis on our business.
So in the 8 years you've really had, the reins of the company, what
Yeah.
areas have you noticed, that you could have done better? You're very good, it seems to me, at kind of scooping up really great talent in the industry, Amy Rabideau being the most recent that you just hired. But are there areas that you've noticed in the past 8 years? You said to me, I've gotten better and not getting so frustrated over things and not kind of losing it. But what other areas have you noticed, like, okay, I wasn't great at that then, but I've gotten better?
Uh, the life cycle of a product. I'm a product guy first, and then my dad was too, right? I think he was an innovator and going overseas and picking the products. We wanted instant gratification on every product based on what's going on in the market, and sometimes it takes a little while for that specific item or category to get into a distributor's program or platform or whatever it may be. Some distributors take longer on an online deal to get a product uploaded, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So in the beginning of my career, I always said, why is this not going so quickly? Why are we not doing this so fast? And now it's okay, let's give it 6 months. Let's give it 9 months. Let's give it 18 months to see if this is going to work. An example would be a patch program. When patches are really popular in retail, it takes a little while for that to surface into the promo world. And I thought we were way ahead of the game on that. And now 3 months ago, it's really started to pick up and we're starting to see action on things like that. So I guess patience in that regard, that not everything is instant gratification. Um,
Have you
yeah.
gotten better? Have you gotten better at, because you're an entrepreneur, I think, at heart, and you're the son of an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs always want to do things themselves. They're not typically great at delegating, in my experience. Have you gotten better at spreading things out to your team, being more inclusive of your team?
Yep. So absolutely. And I think most people watching this will know that we lost a very valuable person to our organization, and Eric Schoenbarger. He was the president of our company and was instrumental in getting us to the spot we were. We kind of worked hand in hand along with a guy named Doug Donnell that is our COO as well. But losing him, I had to look at myself in the mirror and ask, what did I do wrong there? Why did he leave? We left on very good terms. He had an awesome opportunity, but he left for a reason, right? Like you just don't get up and leave or look for a new opportunity. So I looked myself in the mirror, and one thing we were not doing, which we are now, is doing some profit sharing for core people on our team or C-level VPs, et cetera. So that's been a really positive deal. And I actually just got off reviewing our financials for July from June. We do it about mid month the following month. And that's been invaluable, right? So for that team to see what's going on, what does our direct labor look like? What does the manufacturing overhead look like? Why is this increased in the month of June, but it didn't in March, et cetera? It gives them skin in the game. And it's not just on me now. They see it and they can make additional bonuses accordingly based on EBITDA and operating profit numbers we're hitting. So
Gotcha.
I don't think our family, quite frankly, shared enough information with core people out on our team. So that's a positive deal there. And yeah.
You mentioned numbers. So the top 40, the new top 40 has just been released, and HIT was up 5% in 23. You're at $639 million, North American promo.
Yep.
And a couple questions. Number one, just now we are releasing the Q2 numbers for the industry. So you're the first one to hear from me. The industry was up over last year's Q2 numbers 1.3%. So when you factor in inflation, of course, really down, right?
Sure.
So a couple things. Where is HIT right now in relation to that? And what do you think the rest of the year looks like for the industry?
Okay, so we're about 6%, and I attribute a lot of that, like you just said, to inflation. We're lucky that we carry a lot of inventory. We've gotten some really big pops, both domestically and via import accordingly, where we do the decoration overseas. So that's very much helped us get to that 6%. If you took some of the bigger orders out of the equation, we'd be pretty flat right now, and I think that continues. There was we were all on a really good run there for a couple of years, right after COVID, and even during COVID for certain people, right? So I don't expect Q3, Q4, or even going into Q1 of 2025 to be any different. I think we have a flat year, and I'm hoping we gain some market share accordingly.
Are you surprised by? So I'm gonna share more numbers with you. Drinkware. The success of drinkware, I would have lost the bet. So in 2022, it was 9.9% of industry sales. Last year, it was 10.7. So it went up. So that translates to $2.8 billion. Are you surprised that it's not dissipating yet, that it's not
Nope.
waning? Why?
I have one sitting on my desk right now. I mean, it's so do you, right? It's
Yeah.
fantastic advertising space. The Stanley craze / 40-ounce, 30-ounce tumbler phase hasn't stopped, and I don't know that it will stop. As Americans, people like to drink out of big things. So that's good, and you can always innovate the shape of the bottle, the lid, etc. No, I see that accelerating, and the decoration methods that are available now on drinkware are phenomenal, right? They're making it, you can decorate all over on a handled piece now, where you couldn't do that before. It had to be a straight wall piece and whatnot. So yeah, I think that's going to continue to at least stay where it's at. And we're currently making most of our drinkware out of sustainable material now as well. and had to do a lot of supply chain moves on that to make that work. But we feel that that's what the market's demanding, and it's just kind of like the right thing to do.
So my next question was going to be about sustainability. I mean, HIT is such a huge entity with so many different product categories. How do you maneuver around that from a supply chain issue, from a product selection issue? You have
Uh,
so many new products every year. So what are you focusing on as far as I know you're listening to client demand. I know you're listening to buyer demand. How do you know what to target as far as, okay, we're going to lean into sustainability here, this is going to be more difficult. Kind of walk me through that.
you tackle the low hanging fruit. A textile is a lot easier to tackle there. It's been readily available for a minute now on textiles, so bags specifically in our world and some headwear. Drinkware is hard, but doable. The real challenging part of it is because we carry such deep inventory. Is what do you do with the virgin material versus the newly recycled material? How much inventory do you hold or buy on the recycled material because you've had so much of the virgin and you have to cycle through that. So sometimes we might be a little late to the game on actually introducing the recyclable material, even though it's flowing through our system because we have to burn through the original inventory. That's our biggest challenge. And then honestly, what do you do with the part number? Do you keep the part number the same even though you're changing the material? We never know what to do there.
Mhm.
So it's a case by case basis and kind of what the customer demands there too. If
Sure.
one or two customers buy a lot of that specific SKU, we kind of go with whatever they want us to do. Do you keep the SKU the same, or do we put a completely different SKU in the system and you kind of sell both?
So you and I have seen a lot of product trends over the years, the fidget spinners and now the drinkware. What do you think, CJ, is going to be, what product category are you seeing movement in? I know they're
Uh,
outdoor items, pickleball, things like that, but where are you seeing some kind of
you
movement?
know, we just got back from not just got back, but in April we went to the Hong Kong Fair, and I was quite frankly underwhelmed. The development's not really there. I believe that everyone's really focusing on the sustainable element of the product, right? Are you making the notebook out with FSC paper? Is there a bamboo element to it? Is there a recycled element to it? The vendors are focusing on that and securing that material to make it more prominent. Once that material becomes more prominent, your pricing goes down on that. So right now, if you want to convert a stainless steel bottle into a recycled material, your price is going to go up because it's not readily
Mhm.
available in the market, right? So um, there was a heavy emphasis on that, and not necessarily just product, but decoration.
Mhm.
Decoration's really taken leaps and bounds. DTF in the apparel world and textile world. DTF on drinkware, we're printing transfers now and applying them to drinkware that are machine washable. So things of that nature. I think decoration actually, I guess, outweighs the development on the actual product.
Gotcha. And last question. In when I interviewed you for the article, you said this industry is so we make it so much more complicated than it needs to be. Give me an
Yeah.
example of what you mean.
Uh, I still question how orders and artwork come over in general. There will be a time very soon where the end buyer, specifically on company stores, will be able to click a button and cycle through our system, not need a proof, not need 18 different steps. Is this proof approved? Do you want to move this around? There's a bunch of emails going back and forth. Um, that's the biggest thing for me. Eliminate the friction. And I don't want to say that we were the first people to talk about promo standards, but we were pretty prominent in that, and I still believe in it. And I really would love to see our industry get there. And even on our end, we are still a little behind the curve. We print a traveler out for every single or an order jacket, right? For every single order we do. 7, 8 pieces of paper. We have a big thing that shows you where the imprint's going to go. So the printer, we want to go to little handheld devices like a phone or a Zebra, iPad, etc. That's what I would love to see. That's the biggest challenge on our end, and we have our own faults there too.
Gotcha. Well, CJ, congratulations on this award. It is a long time
Thank you.
coming, and you deserve it. So, the
Hey,
2024 Counselor Person of the Year. I couldn't be happier for you. Thank you for your time.